Okay, so we are continuing on with Sri Sarada Devi and her divine play. And let me mute everyone real quick. But go ahead and follow it with my standard reminder that you can unmute for any possible reason that you feel like you have. I love it when you speak out. I love it when it becomes a conversation. And so we're on chapter 18, Mahamaya's Maya. And the introductory quote from the Chandi says, "Salutations to the Divine Mother, the Lord's own Maya, the inscrutable power pervading all things. Salutations to her again and again." Yes, so the Divine Mother there reminding us that the Divine Mother is the power of God, and God and His power can't be separated. So God is both. God is all genders. Whatever number people want to work with is fine. But God is all of those things and more. You always have to put that plus sign at the end of God. God is always God plus. Because that's the funny thing, we throw that word around so much, God, 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 and none of us knows what it means. We all have a concept, and we hold on to that concept, but even that concept changes as you go through life. And it's it's one of those interesting things that how much we disagree over something we know nothing about, and it's quite a fascinating situation. It's sort of like the same deal with here and now. We say the words here and the words now as if that means something, but where is here? That's relative. We're spinning on a planet and it's spinning around a sun, and that's shooting out from the center of a galaxy, and all of these at millions of miles possibly per second. I don't know, just some these outrageous speeds. And so we say here, and we think we know what that means to be here.
Here
And
is
we say,
2.7 millimeters from now.
and so the now is also constantly changing. And so to say here and now is meaningless for us. It doesn't matter, or it's not determinable. you know and so this is why uh, this is Maya, right? I mean, this is why we are so confused and why we're having to go through such a turmoil just to see what actually is. uh, Not even understanding it, just seeing it, just becoming aware of it is a big part of spiritual life and a big part of spiritual practice in there. So Mahamaya's Maya. What is Mahamaya's Maya? According to Vedanta, Brahman is existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute. That's what we've always talked about. This divine presence, if we talk about it that way, our isness is because of God's isness. Our love is because of God's love. Our knowledge and wisdom is because of God's knowledge and wisdom. And the bhakti in me, the devotee in me, loves to hold on to that as a constant reminder of the presence, God's commitment to always be with me. That God never separates herself from us. That when we feel separate from the divine, it is merely because our mind is veiling the truth. We're not seeing things as they are. We're lost in thought. We're lost in the delusion. And so coming to the present moment is to know and to feel, literally experience God, that divine reality. And so this funny question of do you believe in God really has to do with how aware you are. If in this moment you're aware that you can grow and learn, then that is an experience of God. If in this moment you can love someone or feel loved by someone, that is an experience of God. If you can become aware of being in this moment, which seems like it would be the easiest one of all, but it's the hardest one to think about because you don't know what to think about. What is existence? What does it mean to be? And so these three are the qualities of our beloved, and they are the constant reminders of that commitment of never leaving us, never separating from us. And that is where I find my greatest comfort in that. And because they're all so steady, we take them for granted, right? Which is why it becomes questionable. Is there a God? Because we've just accepted these things and don't notice them anymore, don't recognize the miracle of all three of them. That when you think of all three of them, they're all infinite. You can't come up with a definition. You cannot boundary love. No matter what you say love is, it's going to have a plus sign at the end. No matter what you say intelligence is, it's going to have a plus sign at the end, because they're names of the divine. And things that get bigger as you contemplate them are all names of God. And so Brahman is this existence, knowledge, bliss, absolute. And that absolute means unchanging, right? And we've talked about why is that important? Because you have to have, in a relative world, if you didn't have one thing that was unchanging from which everything else is measured, your world would simply collapse into itself. There would be nothing to hold the tent out, right? Because everything would be relative, and that means it's meaningless. Nothing can be defined if it's alone. In a relative world, if you have something outside of it, it can't be defined. You can't touch it. And so the main tent post, like in the big circus big top, that one main pole going up in the middle is the absolute. That's the one pole that goes up first, from which everything else is measured. And that's what gives the universe existence. Without name and form, free from the three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas, right? So without name and form, it's beyond them. Name and form are actually products of mind. They're tools of mind. They are a way of dividing thought. That's really all name and form do, is they divide our thoughts, separate our thoughts, make our thoughts about things. And so in that stillness of mind that we talk about, that ideal state of being fully present without the mind distracting us, in that stillness, things lose their division, their separation. We intuit in that state oneness. And that's what leads to samadhi and to ecstasy. And beyond the three gunas, beyond the three, not necessarily elements, but the three components that create the illusion of Maya. You know, that we've got rajas, which is action, movement, change, vibration. We have tamas, which is inertia, which slows things down. And then we got sattva, which is the perfect balance. You can also see these as creation, right? Rajas, sustenance, sattva, and destruction, tamas. So those three elements are not there because those elements have to act within time. They require past, present, future. They require time, space, and causation. And so those aspects of reality are provided by mind. They are not original. They themselves are part of the power of God, not God the absolute. Can't really say that cleanly, but in that ideal, it's like they come later. They are step downs from the reality. The infinite Brahman becomes manifest as the finite universe and as individual beings through its inscrutable power of Maya, right? This power of mother, this word, this vibration, this change. It's mother that allows God to appear as changing. It is the mother that allows God to be perceived as other and to have characteristics. It's like you would think you would know by now. But that it's the divine mother that allows God to appear as all of this in a beautiful way. Because if you walk through this world knowing the nature of this world, Sri Ramakrishna says, it is for you a mansion of mirth, because you know that you're not the body, so you can't be harmed by anything here. You know that you're not the mind, so you're not subject to the confusions and to the stories and to the anxieties that arise from wrong thinking. But you are a soul, and so you know the nature of yourself to be Satchitananda. And because of that, you know the nature of everything to be Satchitananda. And so you think that those mountains look beautiful now. Wait until you see them as God. That will throw you into ecstasy. We see that happening to Ramakrishna again and again and again and again. For us, we're like, oh, that's a beautiful sunset. For Ramakrishna, it's ecstatic, and he literally leaves the zone. It just steps out overwhelmed by the beauty of it. And so this is the game. This is the riddle that we have put ourselves into, right? Because when we talk at that level, it's the one without a second. And so we are the ones that hold on to our delusion. We are the ones that create and hold on to our karma. And we're the ones that insist we have a story that needs to be continued. And that's kind of a summary of what he's saying here. And more. I mean, we could sit and talk for 3 days on just these few verses, these three sentences here. It's marvelous and beautiful material. The inscrutable power of Maya, right? It's inscrutable because you can't get anything. For instance, I mean, in my lifetime, high science, we always go to science for our knowledge when we're in mind. When we identify ourselves with mind, science seems like the right answer. It seems like that's the thing to trust. But even in science, I know at least in my 60 years, we have found the ultimate particle at least 4 times, right? And every time we find that ultimate particle, there's always another one or another 2 that are implicated, that they think, oh, wait, no, there's got to be something more. And that's why the rishis in the beginning, that's why they abandoned materialism. That's why they stopped going out through the senses to try and find the truth. It was because they realized very quickly that in Maya, if you go into Maya to find your answers, every answer that you get is going to give birth to at least 5 more questions. And so it's inscrutable. It can't be caught. It can't be pointed at. That's why they say all these things like there's really no matter, it's just energy. There's more space in your body than there is material in your body. At this moment, you've got particles flying through the whole planet without ever touching anything. So it's just a matter of scale that makes us think that we're solid and that everything has boundaries and everything is limited. If you became the size of an electron, you would realize that atom that you're a part of is as big as the solar system to you, and that there's as much space between the elements of that atom as there are between Mercury and Venus, or the sun and Pluto. And so it's all this inscrutable craziness, which is Maya, the power of the Divine Mother, her play, literally her art studio, as it were. The infinite Brahman becomes manifest as the finite universe and as individual beings through its inscrutable power of Maya. Thus, the one becomes many. Thus, you have become many. You now have played the game with yourself and placed you into a dream where there are many of us, all of us sitting around chatting about the one. When Brahman is associated with its cosmic power of Maya, it is called Ishwara, or God, the personal God, the manifested God, right? Or Mahamaya, the Divine Mother, right? So one with gender, one without gender. So it's just a pointer, because what we're pointing at can dissolve into itself and become one without a second, which means it can no longer be pointed at. It can no longer be given any adjective whatsoever. Or you could say anything about it that you want and it can make it true. And so this is what we're confronted with, something beyond mind. So if you sit and try and find God in your mind, or if you have a concept of God in your mind that you react to, you're not reacting to God. you're reacting to an idea. That's all. There's nothing behind that idea but an idea. And so this is why we don't limit the divine with words. We don't boundary God with words. In reality, Brahman and the Divine Mother are the same as fire and its power to burn. It is Mahamaya who creates, preserves, and destroys. She releases a soul through her Vidya Maya, the Maya of knowledge, right? And it's not a knowledge of relativity. It's not the knowledge that we learn in school. This knowledge is the knowledge of self. It's the knowledge that comes in silence, an awareness that comes when there's no distraction. That one thing which is known from which all is known. And that is a silent mind. When you can be absolutely present in the moment without your story, without your karma, without your ideas. At that moment, in that silence, you become aware of what is obvious. And you're no longer blinded and misled by watching your mind, by getting caught up in the constant flow of change. So she releases a soul through her Vidyamaya, through the Maya of this knowledge, the knowledge which is in silence, and binds souls to the world through Avidyamaya. Avidyamaya is when you jump into the mind, when you jump into the changing world for your self-identification, for your fulfillment, for your definition of what you are, where you are, what you want to do, what you shouldn't do. When you jump into that, that's the Maya of ignorance, right? Because you cannot do anything but be ignorant here. Because here everything is bound and limited, even you. And so anything that you're going to acquire here, seemingly acquire, because that is an illusion for sure, anything that you think you acquire here is going to be too small to be the truth. Is going to disappear in your fingers, run through your fingers as time does. It'll go away. When religion falls into decline and irreligion prevails, right? Which, of course, I think probably anywhere you are in history, you're going to think, oh, religion is failing. That's because the world just seems to be in such turmoil all the time. God becomes incarnate, controlling his own Maya to preserve the eternal religion, right? That Sanatana Dharma, that religion that is within all religions, that one truth, which is the whole gem, and then all of these religions, the facets of that gem. So all the religions will allow you to enjoy the whole gem, but none of those religions is the gem itself. It is only the eternal religion, or the Sanatana Dharma, which is within all of those religions, the religions that last. If a religion does not contain the Sanatana Dharma, and there has been many of them that didn't, those religions fall away. They're not remembered. They don't join the canon, as it were. And so those religions which perpetuate, which last, will contain the eternal religion. They'll contain an aspect or a portion of that Sanatana Dharma. So when this is failing, when the world's becoming wicked, or when it's becoming much too difficult to realize God, then God comes. According to Ramakrishna, if you want to follow that line of belief, we are due very soon for Ramakrishna's visitation yet again. Right? He said that he'd be back in a couple hundred years, and it's just about there. And so if you're a good boy or girl, I'm not even going to finish that statement. If you're a blessed soul, or even if you're not, I guess God is coming back again. And he does this to bring back balance, to give us a chance to solve the riddle, so that we don't get lost in it forever.
Maharaj?
Yes.
Can I ask? So I've often wondered, and I'm sure the truth is often, I've heard it, but what would be the one truth? How would one describe that as which would be the basis of all religions?
That God has become all things. That there's one without a second would be an element in it. That love is the one most important thing, I think, seems to be common to all of the religions, that truth is not optional, that there is a truth, and that that this delusion that we were once without separation, we were once without fault, without that everything is a degradation of that one eternal principle, and that there is a way of coming out of delusion. Now, I think in truth that question probably is not that easily answered. But in the toolkit that I'm working with, in order to kind of suss these things out, which I enjoy very much, those are the things that I have found in common with the major religions, and what I think to be part of the Sanatana Dharma in it. But that would be up for conversation, I think, for sure. But if you just look at those things that are most important, that God has become all of this, and that God will return to that one state, big quotes, that state of one without a second. I think that would be the starting point of the Sanatana Dharma, that eternal religion.
Thank you.
Sure. So God becomes incarnate, controlling his own Maya, right, to preserve the eternal religion. God cannot take a form without Maya, but he is the ruler of Maya, right? So, but to say the ruler when you're talking about the absolute, it just means that he's the principle through which Maya operates, right? It's not that he controls it as an action. It's that he is the eternal principle, and through that eternal principle, Maya functions, Maya manifests as such. Maya is manifestation, and so that can only happen through the principle of God, and so it will always manifest as love, as wisdom, as existence. So. And even God cannot take a form without Maya, right? So it's interesting, because does God take a form? Well, it's all in how you want to perceive it. When you look in the mirror, did you become another form? No. But is that a form? Yes. Can we talk about it and point at it? Yes. But is it there? Well, sort of. Right? So it's like that. We can't really say that God, when we're talking about the absolute, we have to just put a permanent tongue in our cheek there and be like, because anything you say you have to sit here doing this the whole time you're talking. Like, oh, well, it's sort of like it's this and it's that, it's this and it's that, because God cannot be bounded by words, right? Words implicate time, space, causation. Words implicate name and form. Words implicate constant change. Right. And so yes.
Aren't they talking about avatars?
When he manifests himself taking a form, yes.
That's how I took it.
Yeah, but also in the Christian scriptures, there's an interesting other option there also, because God the Father, who seems to act and seems to interfere with history and whatnot, but not as an avatar, but as this kind of halfway point to the absolute. God with some attributes, he gets angry, he gets jealous, he does these things, which is always problematic, because both of those things are seen as sinful, and he condemns people who practice them to hell. So it's a little bit troublesome that he himself has those qualities and is given those qualities in the Old Testament. But in the Christian realm, God can sort of take form, so he's still an identifiable entity, But God as Yahweh, that word they say you can't pronounce, because they're not willing to give God a name. They're not willing to put a limit on the divine. So they have God the unchanging absolute, and you can find God the unchanging in the Psalms. In songs about the divine, and yet they put a handle on God so that we can talk about God. And then we can be the chosen ones, and we can be the only ones as long as we keep that handle on God. But God doesn't have a handle. And so, yes.
And God may not be always in
What's
human
that?
form. God may not always represented as a human formation. It can be in any different formation.
God, yes. Well, everything that we're seeing right now is God.
Yeah.
We've never seen anything but God. That's exactly right. And so God does not. God is without form, and yet God is form itself. So it's all of that fun. When you talk at that level, it's better to be quiet and settle your mind and be. That's the best response. At that level, philosophy fails, dogma fails. All of these ideas fail because they just melt. They lose their meaning as you approach one without a second.
I heard a friend of mine describe these. I forget what the term is, but it's a term that refers to people who believe that all religions have an answer, but not one religion has all answers.
Yeah, that's just one of those.
And there's a term for that, for people in the more Christian level of life.
Yeah,
that describes that. I'd never heard of it before.
Yeah, that's not a principle. That's just a bumper sticker.
Well, I find it very true from what you just said, though.
Yes, it is. It is a theorem built on an axiom that can be said from the axioms given. Yes, from the things that we know, you can say something like that. But I've heard that thrown around also, and it's really kind of bumper sticker knowledge. It's not a statement from a scripture. It's just sort of a.
Wow, for a guy who drives as many cars as I do, I can't believe I haven't heard it on my bumper yet. I guess I crash into the wrong cars. Anyway, I'd never heard it before, and I'm trying to remember the name now by something, but I just thought, well, that's true. Everybody holds some truth, but nobody holds it all.
Yes, the whole cannot be held.
That's what ties it all together so well.
Yes.
And also it depends on how they were taught and how they are understanding it and what their beliefs are.
Yes.
So that flavor changes based on whom they are to.
That is always true. Yes. Anything that is spoken depends on all of that.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's why we have to have an acceptance of the ideas of others, that we shouldn't be judgmental. We shouldn't think that our ideas alone are true for that reason alone, because if you've said it, it's partially true by nature. Words cannot contain the entirety or the whole or an absolute truth. Words are always.
And it is like weather seasons, like during a fall season, trees looks better.
Yes.
Trees always very colorful, and in winter it goes off. It's a matter of at what time we look at that nature.
Yes.
So in the same way with whom we are discussing and what they were taught, all the flavor changes.
Yes. Well, the flavors change because of mind.
Yes.
The impure mind with the ideas of me and mine, cause all of these different flavors of opinions that we have. And the pure minds, will get closer to the real, closer to the truth. But as long as there's a manifestation, there's an impurity. So there's going to be a problem at some point. Anything that manifests has an impurity in it. It might be a microscopic one, like for an avatar, it's just a single desire. Like for Ramakrishna, it was his desire to enjoy the love of the devotees. So that's how he held himself into a body. And so what he says is going to be relatively perfect. Most of us have a whole list of desires that hold us in our body, and most of those desires we're not even aware of. We just kind of skip happily down the road. And so our truth is going to have a lot more troubles, a lot more problems under scrutiny than what Sri Ramakrishna's or a Jesus or a Buddha or a Rama would have. And so that's why we go for these greats. That's why we hold on to them as our chosen ideals, because they're the closest thing we can get to truth and still be manifested, still have a handle to hold on to.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, good points. Thank you. All right, so he says, God, when religion falls into decline and irreligion prevails, God becomes incarnate, controlling his own Maya to preserve the eternal religion. God cannot take a form without Maya, right? So that Maya there, without some confusion or some delusion, God does not take form, you know. But he is the ruler of Maya. When God takes human form as an avatar, as an incarnation, right, he or she does not come alone. If the avatar is male, he is accompanied by his Shakti or female counterpart, as well as a group of disciples who will carry out his mission. As Ramachandra came with Sita, Krishna with Radha, Buddha with Yashodhara, Chaitanya with Vishnupriya, and Ramakrishna came with Sarada. Ramakrishna,
Swami,
yes.
Shirdi Baba didn't have a female.
What's that?
Shirdi?
Shruti wasn't in the list here.
Right, but he doesn't have
yes.
have a female. So
Yes.
and I don't think Buddha did either.
Buddha had Yashodhara.
Is that his wife?
I don't know. But yeah,
yes, he was married, but
So,
he renounced all that. He left his family.
yes.
yes. What I understood is like each formation comes with many flavors. Like one is like wife and husband formation, where it will teach how their sufferings of their family members will be when they are enlightened in one aspect of it. And in terms of Shirdi Sainada, he doesn't have it because he don't want to explain that to the people to enlighten. He chose that path without being wife.
Yeah.
And if you look at some of these enlightened people, they got enlightened even when they were in the childhood itself.
Yes, but there's a difference between avatar and enlightened. A normal person can has the potential of becoming enlightened.
Correct.
But you know, but an avatar is a manifestation, a form of a direct manifestation, or as pure as possible. It doesn't come from the bottom up, it comes from the top down, as it were. Like that. But yeah, so here he's saying though that God, whenever God incarnates, there's always male and female. Now we're going to run into problems because there's many people who have their guru who they may or may not believe to be an avatar. You know, we're certainly not going to start playing the role of deciding who's an avatar and who's not an avatar. And all of that. So we're not going to get into that space because that's between you and God. That's part of your own personal practice and your own personal understanding and your own personal chosen ideal. And so if your avatar doesn't have these two components, no worries, go forward. He's just saying here that these avatars that are recognized by the largest numbers of people have always come with male and female represented in many different ways. And in Christianity, Mother Mary would be that female. The female was not Jesus' wife, but he was Jesus' mother. So the relationship is going to change. That it's not always going to be the same relationship. But if you look around, you're going to see the male and you're going to see the female representations of God. And even there are the possibilities that he will put both in one. You know, that it might not have two bodies, right? It can also be that possibility. So don't take this as a dogmatic thing. You know, don't take it as a dogmatic thing. Just take it as a comfort that the patriarch is temporary, that male and female are both, they are one in the same, that ultimately we are the one, we are part of the one without a second. And so these distinctions are mind made. And could even be arbitrary to some people. So that's really all he's saying. He's just saying that understand there's a balance. Anytime that God manifests, there's a balance. He's got the male aspect and the female aspect, and that it's everybody has their part in that.
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
Is this
What's your
like
question? Uh-huh.
if I'm out of line to someone? Is this like an earth-bound concept, or does it stretch through eternity?
The question doesn't make sense. You can't stretch through eternity because you need time to stretch through something. Eternity is outside of time, so there's no language to talk about it.
So does it just keep going?
There is no going when you're outside of time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. We're not talking from within the dream at that level. We're talking from the perspective outside of the dream, and we can't talk about that. We have no way. We don't have the tools. The mind cannot conceive of things outside of time, and so we can't. Those questions are all unanswerable, and really actually unaskable at the end of the day. So if the avatar is male, he is accompanied by his Shakti or female counterpart, as well as a group of disciples who will carry out his mission. As Ramachandra came with Sita, Krishna came with Radha, Buddha came with Yashodhara, Chaitanya with Vishnupriya, and Ramakrishna came with Sarada. Ramakrishna was an incarnation of God, and Holy Mother was an incarnation of the Divine Mother. Holy Mother said on many occasions, the Master and I are one. Right? There are not two there because they are a direct manifestation of the same principle. And they both have the same level of impurity that allowed for the manifestation. So they're not different. They're not different. And even Vivekananda, you can throw him in there if you want. He also said that he and Ramakrishna are not different. Right? And Jesus is he and God, the Father, are not different. And so you see at that level, there is no difference between these characters. So you could say the same between Jesus and Buddha. There is no difference. You could say the same between Buddha and Krishna. There is no difference, right? That at that level, the oneness is the dominant appearance. All right. Maya makes it possible to function in this world. Yes. Maya introduces time-space causation, which is absolutely necessary to function. Maya introduces subject-object relationship, which is absolutely necessary for functioning, right? So we have to, if we're going to participate in the world, we have to agree to play along at some level of delusion, right? If you're going to play soccer, you have to believe it's important to kick a ball through a particular end of the field. If you don't make that agreement, there's no soccer. And so this is what he's saying here, that we have all agreed to have stories, karma, action. We've all agreed to the rules of the game, maybe knowing or not knowing, but here we are, and we're playing the game. So when the mind is free from Maya, right? Which means when the mind is egoless, when the mind has no particles of me or mine in any of its thoughts or toward any of its thoughts, then you're free from attachment to the world. It merges into samadhi, right? That's when you forget the concept of body. When you believe in the body, God is a concept. When you know the divine, the body is a concept. Right? And so when you're free of them, when you're free of me and mine, you're by necessity free of the body. And you go into samadhi. You experience that one without a second, because ego is what causes division. Ego is what sees objects. Right? Ego is what turns awareness into consciousness. All right. This happened to Holy Mother. After the master passed away in 1886, she lost her attachment to the world and felt no reason to remain. She regained some peace of mind during her pilgrimage and by practicing the Panchatapa, which we talked about previously, that where she did the 5 fires, the four fires in all the directions, and then the sun is the 5th fire. And she sat there for, gosh, many, many days in that condition. So then followed the master's advice to stay in Kamarpur and to practice austerities there. Afterward, she stayed with her mother and brother's families in Jairambati. Over the years, she traveled back and forth between Jairambati and Calcutta and initiated many people. From 1887 to 1899, her mind remained detached. She said, "At that time, I did not care for anything in this world. My mind was full of renunciation and was soaring high. I did not feel any point in living longer, so I was praying to depart from this world." During this period, the mother had very little body consciousness and was in an ecstatic mood most of the time. Golap Ma and Yogan Ma would take her sit when the devotees came to pay their respects to her. She was indifferent to household activities, and her mind was focused on her real nature. The master appeared before her on many occasions and told her, "You stay. You have many things to do. I have helped only a few people. You will help many, many more. They will come to you." Holy Mother said, "After that, I resolved to keep my body. But Providence has planned to tie her mind with a strong attachment so that she could continue her divine mission." Right? So that's just Mother saying that her attachment was you and me. The reason that she stayed in her body was because she knew that she had many people to reach, right? Many people to teach. And so all of us fall into that category because we're reading the book about her at this moment and learning from her. And so, see, bring these things out of the books and into your heart. You know, as we read this book, know that this book exists purely for us. Right? So let me quiet these things here a little bit. All right. So Providence also planned to tie her mind with a strong attachment, her love for you and me, so that she could continue her divine mission. The mother embraces her own Maya. That's what she's doing, really. She is that. She is this world of change, this world of power, this world of manifestation. And so now she, being that, embraces that. Holy Mother was very fond of her youngest brother, Abhay. For some time, he lived with M's family and went to school in Calcutta. After graduating from school, he entered Campbell Medical School, now Neelratan Sarkar Hospital, and became friendly with the monastic disciples of Ramakrishna. Swami Brahmananda helped him by buying medical books. Swami Vivekananda remarked, "I didn't know that Mother had such an intelligent brother." Her other brothers were mere priests, practically illiterate, and always asking for their priestly fees. 2 of Holy Mother's other brothers, Prasanna and Bharata, lived at this time in a rented house in Chorbegan, Calcutta, performing rituals in private homes to support their families. Soon after obtaining his medical degree, Abhay contracted cholera. Swamis Sharadananda and Prakashananda cared for him in his brother's residence. When Holy Mother went to see him, she sat at Abhay's side, held his head on her lap, and began to caress his hair. Abhay kept his eyes on the sister's face and said plaintively, "Sister, I am going. They are left behind. Please keep an eye on them." Abhay passed away on the 2nd of August, 1899. What a way to go. With your head in the lap of the Divine Mother, you know, in the physical form. What an amazing thing. Because actually all of us will go that way or have that potential if we choose to go with our lap, a head in the lap of Mother. You know, there were times when I was down, when I was dealing with those days of depression, where when I was in bed, I would pretend my pillow was Mother's lap. and sit there and try and hold that space of laying with my head in the mother's lap. So all these things we can practice because of the truth behind them. We have that reassurance. Abhai's wife, Shurabala, was pregnant at the time and living in her father's house. She was an unfortunate woman, having lost her mother when she was very young. Now she lost her husband, and shortly thereafter, she lost her grandmother and aunt who had raised her. Her mind broke under the strain of so much grief. In October 1899, Holy Mother left Calcutta for Jairambati and brought Shurabala to stay with her. On the 26th of January 1900, Shurabala gave birth to a baby girl who was named Radharani and also called Radu or Radhi. Responsibility for caring for this baby fell on Holy Mother, since Shurabala was mentally incompetent. In February 1900, Swami Atalananda and a woman devotee named Kusum came from Varanasi to visit Holy Mother. Kusum volunteered to care for the infant and stayed in Jairambati for 5 months. This was a great relief to Holy Mother. So that was the physical thing that Holy Mother attached to, was Radu. And she cared for Radu for the rest of her life as a means of keeping her mind in this world and keeping her body for our sake. So these attachments, Ramakrishna chose loving the devotees and the love of the devotees as his attachment, and Holy Mother chose the daughter of her brother. So you see that purity of mind, that was their only attachment. We have innumerable innumerable ones that keep us here. Although Holy Mother mainly lived in Jairambati during this period, she visited Kamarpukur from time to time. Once in Kamarpukur, she had an attack of cholera and became bedridden. Her maid, Sagarma, cared for her devotedly. Pleased with her loving service, Holy Mother blessed her, saying, "You will never suffer from a lack of food or clothing." The news of her cholera was sent to Bellarmat and to Jairambati. When the mother was a little better, her brother Kali Kumar took her to Jairambati by bullock cart. Within 3 or 4 days, Swami Trigunatitananda and another monk from Bellarmat arrived at Jairambati, hoping to take her to Calcutta. But the mother would not go, as she had recuperated from that illness. So she'd already got better. But you see how devoted everybody was to her. They could all see their nature. They all felt so much love from her. The order couldn't operate without her. They would go to her for permission for every decision that they made. And nothing would happen without her permission. And this is that the nature of our release from Maya does not happen without the mother's permission. It's mother that gives realization. It's mother that gives moksha, that gives freedom, right? Although Holy Mother mainly lived, I think we got that. In October of 1900, Holy Mother returned to Calcutta with her uncle Nilmadhav, Shurabala, Radhu, and Aunt Banu, a neighbor and a longtime friend. At that time, Nivedita's school was moved from number 16 Bolspara Lane to number 17, and Holy Mother's devotees rented the house at 16 Bolspara Lane for her household. Kusum continued to care for Radhu there. Holy Mother's uncle became the guardian of the household, and Golap Ma lived with the mother whenever she was in Calcutta. Holy Mother practiced japam and meditation with her women devotees, and Swamis Trigunatitananda and Sharadananda looked after all of her needs. And so everybody together, taking care of Ma. According to the diary of Bellarmat on the 24th of February 1901, Holy Mother attended Sri Ramakrishna's birthday anniversary at Bellarmat. In October of 1901, Swamiji invited Holy Mother to attend the first Durga Puja held at Bellarmat, and for her convenience, arranged for her to stay at Nilambar Babu's house, which was close to the monastery grounds. The mother and her companions attended the worship festival from the 18th to the 22nd of October, 1901. All right, that's a good place for us to stop for today.